Good evening, Justice Warriors or Justice Warrior, if it's just you, Shan. Hello, thank you for being on here. And I am so excited to be on a live with you. I know you've been busy squirreling in that garden of yours. So, wow, it's getting so late. It's almost 11. It is the 12th of June. I think it's what, Wednesday? Yeah, it's Wednesday still. Just, summer, kids, family, busyness, one thing after another. And then we won't even talk about the lighting. Anyway, I wanted to come on and talk with you guys before the day was over. And Jackie Bushable, lovely to see you, my dear. Thank you for coming in. Yesterday, I mentioned Kendrick Johnston's case. I had not mentioned him in a long time. And I printed out a pretty recent article. It's from April 17th of this year. And this has been going on for a long time. So let me just start by reading this. And I'll go ahead and do my quick, please subscribe, share, turn on your notification bell to ring. And Shan says, I finally got to take a nice amount of lettuce today. Also grabbed up some bok choy, unsauteed it with onions and herbs. Stoked. I'm finally harvesting. Continue with your topics, though. That is radical, man. You are amazing. I mean, when you say squirrels on fire, you are not kidding. Okay. So I want to read this about Kendrick and his case and his family's fight for justice. I want to talk about Mica. You know, I always want to touch on Kylie Rodney's case. And I want to bring up a case that I have not heard the name in a long time, you guys. Vanessa Guillen, if I'm saying that right. You know, the one that went missing from, was it Fort Bragg? And then she was unalived. But yeah, we'll talk about Kylie. We'll talk about Mica. And right now, I'm going to read you this article about Kendrick's family and their plight for justice. Hey, Sherry, lovely to see you. And I'll do my disclaimer. Everything I say is simply my opinion for the sake of hoping to start a conversation, open up a discussion, learn something, be educational. And all my videos have been made for YouTube. It's an entertainment platform. I'm so super stoked about my chakra tower coming to fruition. And anyway, let's just read. This is from 11 Alive news, local news from Georgia. So from Atlanta, Georgia, specifically. After over a decade, the family of a Georgia teen who was found deceased, rolled up in a gym mat, said they're continuing to fight for justice by filing for a summary judgment in their lawsuit against law enforcement agencies over the investigations into the death and autopsies that determined it was accidental. This is the craziest case. Kendrick Johnston's father, Kenneth Johnston, said he believes the search for justice is finally making progress. His son was discovered rolled up inside a wrestling mat in his high school in Valdosta in January of 2013, so 11 years ago. Officials originally said Kendrick intentionally crawled in the mat to get his shoe and suffocated, ruling his death accidental. But the Johnston family has long maintained someone unalived him. We know all along they would not be able to dispute all the evidence we put forth because it's their own evidence, Kenneth Johnston said. Johnston said previously that marks appearing on Kendrick's side were not self-inflicted and that his son didn't get into that mat by himself. And Kenneth Johnston said the very reports from law enforcement, which his attorney said they have now, only after discovery from filing a lawsuit in September. So they didn't have these reports for the last 10 years. Seriously. I apologize for the lighting if it's all wonky. It's because it's pitch black outside and it just gets so different. Normally I'm doing my videos during the day and the ambient light's entirely different, even though I have the blackout curtains and everything. So yeah, I just wasn't gonna spend any more time futzing with it. Geez, accidental. Exactly, Sherry. This is why I wanted to bring it up, much like Kylie Rodney. Thank you. Um, and okay. Only after discovery from filing a lawsuit in September against the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, Lowndes County Sheriff's Office, and Lowndes County Medical Examiner show inconsistencies. The family is hoping a federal judge will find in their favor on the motion for summary judgment in that suit. A Department of Justice investigation that closed in 2016 determined that there was not enough evidence for federal civil rights violation charges, noting that the government would have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt not only that someone unalived Kendrick Johnston, but that it was motivated by racial animus, which it seems like it was, which would have been a high threshold to meet. The loudest, I don't know if I'm saying the name of the county right. It's Lowndes. The Lowndes County Sheriff's Office reopened the case in 2021 and after 10 months determined again that it was accidental. The GBI has not conducted its own investigation of the case, but it concluded an autopsy that the DOJ said in 2016 described a cause of death as accidental and resulting from positional asphyxia. Essentially, that he became entrapped upside down in the rolled up mat and had suffocated, which would be fine if that was the case, but it's not. I mean, it would be horrible still if that was the case, but it's even more horrible because that's utter crap. A subsequent independent autopsy requested by the family determined the death was not accidental, but caused by blunt force trauma to the right side of Kendrick's neck near the jaw. A third autopsy in 2018 also showed findings of apparent non-accidental blunt force trauma and that some of Kendrick's organs were missing. They exhumed him. I want to say they exhumed him twice. This case has just been a hot mess ever since the day it happened. Jonathan Burrs, the civil rights advocate on the suit, expanded on the family's arguments. He said several new details came out in their lawsuit discovery process, and with the new information, Kendrick's family filed the motion for summary judgment for a portion of the case. The filing alleges the GBI and other defendants named in the suit have not adequately disputed the facts they allege. They are awaiting the judge's decision within the next 30 days. So I haven't gotten, I searched and I searched. I didn't find an update from this. So because this article is from April of this year. You can find the legal filing at the bottom of the story. And I did find that. In addition, the family believes there is enough new information discovered via the lawsuit to potentially have the entire case reopened for investigation, since no one was ever charged with the death. Burr said the family filed an application to reopen the case in accordance with Georgia's recent Coleman-Baker Act, which created a process for the GBI to reinvestigate cold case redrums. A full GBI statement said the GBI has received numerous inquiries from the public about our involvement in the 2013 Kendrick Johnston death investigation. So this is my thought, is that YouTube content creators and viewers can help propel this case forward. And this is something that the family has asked for specifically. So it's not like they don't want that to happen. They would be absolutely thrilled if we and others spoke about it on our YouTube channels. So it's something that I've spoken about off and on over the last year or so, but I want to be talking about it more, especially in how it relates to Kylie Rodney and some of the other cases that I'm very invested in. Kendrick Johnston death investigation. The case was investigated by the Lowndes County Sheriff's Office, the FBI, and the Department of Justice. Our agency assisted the Lowndes County Sheriff's Office in the case by processing the scene. Our medical examiner's office conducted an autopsy on Johnson. The investigation is closed. All GBI documents pertaining to the case are available upon request through GBI's Open Record Unit. GBI Medical Examiner's Office conducted a thorough autopsy on this case. This case is closed, and we stand behind our original findings. So that's all I was going to read, pretty much. The motion for summary judgment. It's absolutely a crazy case. So the reason that it's so crazy, if you didn't catch me talking about it yesterday, is that the two boys that seem responsible for the situation, Brandon Bell and Brian Bell, brothers, their fathers, Rick Bell, who was a federal agent. And he came to the scene, the high school. This happened in the middle of a school day. And they believe that Kendrick was lured to the gym by the boys. And, you know, that's real similar to my belief about Kylie Rodney being lured to that party, the party, quote unquote. Also, my belief that Mica Miller was probably lured to the Lumber River State Park, where she lost her life and was found deceased. So Rick Bell came on site and completely commandeered the situation, which is wrong to begin with, because it's not Federal Bureau of Investigation jurisdiction. It was the county sheriff's jurisdiction, but he did what he did. And the boys are, let's see, I think Brian is the one that was having a rivalry with Kendrick Johnston. And then Brendan, if I'm getting their names right, let me check my notes to be sure. Then he, 8 years later, was drunk at a party and told people that his brother did it. So that was interesting. That was why it got reopened, one of the times that it got reopened. And yeah. So Brian Bell and Brandon Bell, on specifically this date, July 4th, 2013, Brandon told people that his brother did this. So there's a documentary called Finding Kendrick Johnston, and I'm pretty sure I've watched that, but it's been a while. And let's see. Yeah, all three of these people, Mica, Kylie, and Kendrick, I believe were lured to their demise. And, you know, the thing with Kendrick and Kylie that is possibly a commonality is the jealousy, the rivalry, right? Yeah. So they're trying to get the case reopened once again. And I mentioned yesterday how Brian Bell married the girl that he and Kendrick were rivaling over. And I think their wedding was last summer. I think it was 2023. It might have been the year before that, but I'm pretty sure it was last summer. And they were like all over Facebook with their gift registry and such. Now her name has been scrubbed from the internet for her safety. And I have an issue with that. You know, what about the safety of Kendrick Johnston? I mean, she knows what happened. She knows what happened, and she's married to this guy now. So, I mean, I think she's less safe with him than with anybody else in the world. And she should come to her senses and know that and go to the authorities, in my opinion. But, you know, his dad's a real piece of work, apparently, in my opinion. So, So yeah, I wanted to jump right over into Micah Miller's case because I don't want to stay on that long. It's already after 11 and I've only been on here for 15 minutes. Let me see what else you guys are saying so I don't lose track. What was his name again? Kendrick Johnston. Yeah. A very loved young black teenager in the South. And, I mean, we all know that the South is racist. And allegedly, what happened was he slept with Brian Bell's ex girlfriend, I think ex at the time. And then Brian and the girl got back together, and then this happened. I believe that that's what happened. I'm pretty sure that's how it was explained in the that Finding Kendrick Johnston documentary. And also, I put the link in yesterday's video description about Christina Randall's rundown of the whole case. So, hello, Anna Bees. Circumstances should be telling enough. Yeah, it's crazy. And it happened during school hours. So, there's all kinds of videotape surveillance footage. There's all kinds of videotape surveillance footage that's missing, right? Because there were video cameras in the gym, there were video cameras in the hallway. I mean, the school was laden with surveillance cameras. So yeah, I've watched a lot of interesting videos about the Micah Miller case in the last 24 hours, and I'm convinced that I think it's the channel The Mystery Project. I think that's the one. I'm convinced that Mica was gang stalked. And I'll put links to the videos. No, it's not that one. It's Freedom Voice Online. So this channel, Freedom Voice Online, is a channel that was made about gang stalking. The content creator claims to be a survivor of gang stalking, and he puts forth, I think it's a he, puts forth a case laying it out. I think he's only done like 2 or 3 videos about Micah Miller. But I'm convinced that he's right on the money, that she was gang stalked. So the black pastor, Charles Randall, who is the pastor at the Saint Delight Church, did you guys know that I've got so many notes here? His daughter, I think her name's Vanita, worked at the Waccamaco, the mental health clinic. I'll double check the spelling. I think it's WACCAMAU, mental health clinic, where JP had Mica committed. Okay, so that black pastor who had also tricked Mica into meeting up with him, lured her to a Walmart parking lot so that then they could, bamboozle her and get her to this involuntary commitment. And then JP is so freaking connected and manipulative. So then Mica's family tried to visit her in the hospital, and they were not allowed. The hospital security would not allow them in. And get this, there's this guy. I know I have his name written down, but I think I have it in the top of my brain if it's functioning. I think his name is Brian Wilson. And he is in charge of security for the Solid Rock Church, which to me just sounds so bizarre. Like, why would you need security for a church that size? I could see maybe for some of these mega churches, but a church of 700 congregants, bizarre. His wife, Brian Wilson's wife, is a lieutenant with the local sheriff's department. So she had instructed the hospital security. I don't know if they were police officers. They often are in hospitals. But she had instructed them to not allow Mica's family in. I think her name is Heather Wilson. And that is throwing your weight around, that is abusing your power. So JP and all the ruckus all over the YouTube the last 24 hours about his last little TikTok video that he made saying that he has 350 pieces of evidence that will prove his innocence. And first of all, that's too many. I mean, he's so freaking ridiculous. Like, that's such a manic and borderline type of thing. Remember when Scammy said that there were like millions of tips coming in on the Kylie Rodney case when she was speaking with Tony Douchebag Dodge? Millions of tips. He's got 350 pieces of evidence, and he's got all these texts from Mica that will prove that he's a good guy. And he wants justice for Mica also, which is like, okay, so who is he saying did what? I thought he was trying to say it was self-induced, right? Excuse me, got a little tickle in my throat. So Freedom Voice Online is the name of that channel that talks about the gang stalking. Mystery Project is another good one, linking all of these people together. There's a lot more too. I just was going crazy trying to take notes. And so the Cathedral Bible College, where Reginald Wayne Miller owned that college and then just kind of gave out degrees to whoever gave him money. And it's an unaccredited college, so there's like no guidelines. It's just like you do whatever you want to do. Very strange. And JP is allegedly related to a judge or a magistrate, right? JP is allegedly related to a judge or a magistrate. Doesn't surprise me. So I don't know if this is blood relative or if it's, somebody in the congregation, but there's a lot of that. A lot. And again, just like with Kendrick Johnston's case, we're dealing with the South. South Carolina and Georgia are right next to each other. And you just have like the good old boys going on down there, you guys. I mean, it's craziness, isn't it? And what am I writing about here? Kate still not seen. Kate still not seen. I'll have to figure out what I meant. I don't know which whom I'm referring to with Kate. I don't think it was Kate from Kylie Rodney's case. But anyway, I knew I'd be a little flighty on here, but I just thought I'd come on anyway. Because I missed you guys. There's a lot to talk about. And, this is interesting. The alleged girlfriend of JP, whose husband was in the wheelchair, who drowned. So you know the story about how he had confronted JP and said, "Leave my wife and children alone," 2 weeks before he accidentally drowned. And then we all know that JP officiated his funeral service, his memorial service. But that woman was JP's babysitter. So he's got this theme going with the babysitters. Really weird. Really, really weird. And it seems that he has in his possession, JP, way too many automobiles. So I know from little bits of information that I've picked up here and there that buying and selling automobiles is one of the ways that people launder money. And Ryan Upchurch brought this up in the Kylie Rodney case with Red Flag Ronnie and that vehicle that had changed hands so many times. Remember the vehicle that had the tag plate um, in one of the screens of Red Flag Ronnie when he was showing things that he shouldn't have been showing, and then Upchurch looked it up and saw that it had been bought and sold so many times. So real estate is another good way for the money laundering. But cars are awesome. So I thought that was interesting that he owns so many vehicles. And then, then he goes and steals, commandeers, takes Mica's vehicle when she's inpatient. And again, just the abuse, the um, coercion and the control and the, trying to make her feel so trapped and helpless. It's so freaking crazy. Um, so how long do you think, if this was a plan with Mica, how long do you think he might have spent planning it? Because we know that he was served the divorce decree, the separation legal papers. He was served within 48 hours of her losing her life. And I believe that with that came the protection order. And just like with Brian Laundrie, and maybe even with Kylie Rodney, that when these people are trying to um, move on with their lives is when they are in the most dangerous predicament, the rejection, the perceived abandonment. So Mica knew that JP was likely going to put a bullet in her head, as she had told many people. And I'm sure she was scared to death. Why she would go out to that park to meet up with his attorney, it sounds like that's what happened. I don't know that that's been confirmed at this point, but in my opinion, that's very likely what happened. She was lured out there, maybe in good faith that they could come to some conclusion, some agreement. And I don't know if she called in to work and was going to be going in late or what, because she was scheduled to be at work at noon. And then, she left her apartment in her work t-shirt over the black long sleeve shirt, which it was said that she wore the black long sleeve shirt over her work t-shirt to hide bruises on her arms. I don't know if that's true, but that's what's been reported. And then we know that she was not wearing that t-shirt in the video surveillance footage from Dick's pawn shop. And in that pawn shop footage is where this one channel, the Freedom Voice Online, goes over very carefully his belief that there were several people in that shop that were gang stalking her. And how else are you going to make a person feel so paranoid and crazy and so unsure of themselves other than having them gang stalked? So they don't know if they're imagining things or not. But that's very typical for cults. It's very typical for gang type of activity. It's treacherous. It's absolutely treacherous. But so back to the shirts. So she's wearing just the black long sleeve shirt in that footage, but then allegedly found in the river, she's got the work t-shirt back on. Have you guys heard that? And I think I am going to try to wrap up because we're already at 30 minutes. And like I said, it's late. It's a quarter after 11. But if you guys have anything you want to discuss before we wrap up, let me see what else you're saying here other than just hello, hello, hello. Anna B says, I heard on someone's channel that the place she said, yeah, I think it's so hard to highlight these things when they're the newest one, because of that little heart over there on the side. I heard on someone's channel that the place she said where she was on the 911 call can only be accessed by the river. And the access by the river can easily happen from the 200 acres that the attorney owns. And when I found out that the attorney owned that property there, I was just like, give me a freaking break. Like, as if there's any possibility of all of it just being a big fat coincidence. I mean, come on. It makes me spitting mad. It makes me so mad that the county sheriff there was so quick to call it a self-unaliving. And then, was it on the Robbie Harvey show? I think it was the Robbie Harvey show. He says that law enforcement called JP that night, and he had them on speakerphone. He had people he had guests, he had people there with him, and that on speakerphone they announced what had happened and gave a lot of details. And that is so unprofessional. I mean, over the phone, notification to next of kin should be in person, in my opinion. I'm pretty sure that that would be standard. Yeah, it's a state away. However, it was only 90 minutes away, and the law enforcement there can contact the local Myrtle Beach law enforcement to do that in person. But yeah, doing that over the phone and then doing that, I don't know if they didn't know that they were on speakerphone. That's just nuts. That is so nuts and so unprofessional. But I was curious about what Robbie Harvey was saying, that he believes that JP wasn't there at the Lumber River State Park. I don't necessarily believe that. Just because his vehicle is, the license plate was red on a traffic cam down there in South Carolina, that does not mean that he was the one driving that car. And he was so freaking obsessed with Mica. He was so obsessed with her. And then the whole thing with the tattoos, she had his signature tattooed on her, which, if that doesn't sound like a branding, I don't know what does. And then it looks like he went and got a brand new tattoo of her signature on him to then try to pretend that it was a mutual tattooing of signatures on each other, that it wasn't him being controlling. And he doesn't have that tattoo on his pasty self when he's at the beach with one of the chicks that he was photographed with a week or two ago. So it's a brand new tattoo and he's denying it. The thing with these people and their freaking lies, it's like, I like to say, how do you know when a person like JP is lying? Because his lips are moving. Anything he says is probably a lie. He wouldn't know the truth if it bit him on the rear end. Yeah, it's his property. Yeah. Craziness, absolute craziness. And then all the fires that JP's father had with his churches, the fires that the county where the Lumber Creek State Park is, I think it's like it's not Roby County, is it? Something like that. But that county sheriff's department has a history of being arsonists, you guys. Like, that is insane. Like, arson is such a serious crime. Such a serious crime. I'm sure most people are well aware of that. That's not news, but it's so freaking dangerous. And it's such an insurance scam most of the time. That's what it is an insurance scam. And just all the shenanigans with the money, the money, the money, the money. And then Mica reporting the church and their financial, uh, how shall I say, just their lack of ethics in their financial dealings. So she had just reported them, I believed maybe 3 days before, that she put in a formal complaint, that she filed a complaint with the IRS, was it? Something like that. But we know that JP and his lawyer were being investigated by the federal authorities for some type of financial scandalism. Another really good content creator who did a great video on this case today that I will link in the description is Watts the Obsession. She is just on fire with this one. It really, I think, resonates with her, and she just does such good work. You know, she comes from a family of lawyers, and she just knows her stuff. And she's only had her channel, I think, 3 years, but she's done so much with it, and not just on the Watts case, but like with this case. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. And what else? Is there anything else I want to say in this before saying good night to you guys? I am going to try to come on to a live tomorrow. So just trying to pack this one in before the night is over. Thanks so much for joining me, people. You know I love you, and you know I care. Oh, I wanted to share with you guys that, oh my goodness, crazy couple of things. Wow, I can't believe I forgot all this time. So one of the things lighthearted that I wanted to share was that I got 3 of my family members to do my yoga class tonight. So I taught it to my husband, my oldest daughter, and my youngest daughter. And my youngest daughter had just done the routine for the first time last night. I taught it to the 2 daughters last night. So that was really cool. The 12-year-old loved it. And then tonight, teaching it to all 3 of them. Just beautiful and harmonious, and, you know, just trying to spread health and healthy habits and peace and well-being and all that great stuff. So trying to sell it to you guys too. But holy crap, you guys, I have a bombshell for you. I can speak more freely about my own trauma of my father making that attempt on my life and my sister's life when I was 11 and she was 14. I just found out yesterday that he passed away last year in Hawaii. I don't know if it was the Lahaina fires, but he is buried. So he was 82. As much as I would share with you guys about my own trauma, I always held back somewhat because I didn't want to poke the bear. I haven't spoken to the man in something like 40 plus years, and I just didn't feel like speaking. I didn't feel like it would be a good idea to speak too freely about it. So now that he's deceased, and it's sad. It's sad that he was such a disturbed individual. It's sad that he, you know, it's a glorious day because the world is a safer place, not just for me and my sister, but for everyone. I mean, he was a very, very dangerous criminal. He was in and out of jail. And I mentioned to you guys once or twice, he was banned from the state of Colorado. It takes a lot to get banned from a state, but he was 100% banned from the state of Colorado. Dangerous, dangerous individual. So he's been deceased for almost an entire year, and I didn't know it until yesterday. And such a relief, such a sigh of relief. And I'm just excited to tell my story more thoroughly because there's so much trauma there, and it's so cathartic for me to share it. And I love inspiring anyone else who's got their own trauma, just to share it, to talk about it. You know, I like to say that nothing is a problem if you can talk about it. The problems that you can't talk about are the really big problems. So Yeah. Yep. Annabees says yay. I think that's what you're responding to, right? And Sherry says, I think it says this for sharing, Jazz, but I think what you meant was thanks for sharing. And yeah, I was so excited to talk about it in my next live. But then I barely got this live pulled together this evening. So there will be a lot more to come about that whole story, you guys. I'd kind of like to do a video of just that whole story, by itself. There's so many layers to it, and it's such a miracle that we survived. And I've told you guys it was our dog that saved our lives. It was absolutely our dog that saved our lives. If not for our dog, we would have not made it. It was carbon monoxide poisoning for anybody who doesn't know the story. Yes, it was. I'm happy for you. Oh, Annabees, thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, I don't wish, I've never had like ill will towards him. I've always wanted him to heal and be a better person. I mean, he suffered his own trauma, but like I said, he was not well. He was criminally insane, and he was had a genius IQ. So it was very sad that he didn't put that genius IQ to positive, constructive measures, but he was conniving and manipulative. He was a lot like some of these criminals that we talk about. And like one that is two that remind me of him a great deal are Scott Peterson and, brace yourself, Ted Bundy. Those are two that remind me of him the most. So thank goodness that it's over, and I don't have to worry about him stalking us, because he stalked me and my sister over the years. So no more of that, which is cool. Very, very cool. Anyway, thanks for listening, you guys, and thanks for supporting my channel. I want to say light and love, and take really good care of yourself. Make sure you're getting your exercise, your nutrients, your rest, your hydration. If you are interested in doing the yoga routine, that I am just loving it. I'm trying to do it every day, and I absolutely love it. I had it in my videos. It's just a video of me reading the instructions. So there's no video footage in that most recent one. So you'd have to kind of know yoga, or know from maybe watching the video right before it. But most of the yoga videos I have made members only. That one I accidentally made members only, but I fixed it tonight so that anybody that wants to do the yoga can watch that very last video in the regular videos. Most of my videos are lives. So this is the most recent regular video, and it should be public now. And, what I do is I just play it for myself to teach myself the class sometimes. And it is just such a relaxing, rejuvenating, restorative class. So I highly recommend it. And yeah, 2.5 weeks until I'm certified, you guys. Can't believe it. It's wild. And yeah, I've worked my tail off. So I am saying goodnight to all. Hopefully I will be on a live with you guys tomorrow. What time is it? I'm at 45 minutes, and it's 11:30. So not turning into a pumpkin quite yet, but I do have the little Gabby Petito pumpkin. It's not the same pumpkin as hers. I told you guys it could be, because my sister picked this up in a thrift shop near North Point, where Gabby and Brian Laundrie lived. So it's probably the same person that made it. But I've looked closely at the one that Gabby has in her hands in the photographs. I think hers is a tiny bit smaller than this, and I think her stem is longer. But it very, very well could be made by the same person. Anyway, I was so excited when my sister let me have it because I love that pumpkin in that picture. That's one of my favorite pictures of Gabby, and I just think it's so cute. And it's just nice to kind of have that as my token to always think of her the way I like to always think of Kylie. And I do want to get more into the Vanessa Gillian case, if I'm saying her name right. I have not heard anybody talk about her in a very long time. And that case was so tragic. I think her family was suing the military for $35 million for their mishandling of the situation. They really tried to whitewash it, you guys. So I'm going to look into that case and see what's going on there, talk more about that. I think I'm going to be hammering away at Kendrick Johnston's, and I'm going to be able to talk much more freely about my own story, which is something I've been looking forward to. So that's been something that the whole time I've had my channel, I never expected to talk about my own stuff. And especially knowing that he could potentially watch it and, get inspired to try to interact with me to say, no, that never happened or whatever, to gaslight, to harass, to stalk. I wasn't going to poke the bear, like I said. Sleep, dreams, and many blessings. Oh, thanks, you guys. You're more than welcome. Anna Bees, you're so sweet. All right, I'm rambling. I keep saying I'm signing off. So good night. Sleep tight. Hasta mañana. And just be well. And thanks so much for listening. Take care.